Hello everyone, Linda Israel here, and I am working on the winter mixed media collaboration that I'm doing with Lena and Bea and Chelsea. The idea is that we're to make a 4x6 postcard size piece of background, and then we send it to the other person and they are going to decorate it. So I need to make my background. What I've got here is some gel prints. I shared these not too long ago, and I'll have the link here so you can choose to watch that to see how I made these. I've got a 12 by 12 piece of cardstock here, and what I'm going to do is basically kind of rip some of these up and then collage all over this piece. So I'm just going to grab a couple of pieces here. I have my little glue pot that I use whenever I'm doing projects like this. So it's just my little glue pot that I have modified just a little bit. It has two little sponges in there. Oops, I'm about to spill it. And then I fill it with some Aleene's tacky glue or white glue or PVA glue and a little bit of water so it's a little bit runnier instead of being super thick. And then I like to use a paintbrush, and then I'll paint down where I want the glue and where I want to stick my pieces. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take some of these and just kind of rip them into pieces, and then I'm going to collage all over this. I think I've got enough to get started here. I'm not going to really pay attention to what direction I put stuff down. I'm just going to glue it in place because I know I'm going to cup this up, so it doesn't really matter what I put where. Okay, so I have covered my 12 by 12 with these little scraps of my gel prints. I'm going to let this dry for a little bit, and then I'm going to come back and start on the next layer. So wherever the junctions are in this piece, I'm just going to add a little bit of paint, kind of giving it a little bit deeper of a mixed media vibe, if you will. And it just kind of helps blend these together and make it look like it was just one big piece. So I'm just going to go randomly and add a little bit of paint here and there. Alright, so I'm going to let this dry and then I'll be right back. So I'm just stamping all over this, and then I will add the embossing powder, and then I will heat set it. So right now I'm just going to take my embossing powder and just kind of sprinkle it over the whole thing. And I'm okay if it sticks in other places. I mean, this is just a background, so I'm just going to play with it. Alright, looks like I missed a couple of spots, so I'm going to add that. So I'm just going to take my heating tool. I'm going to heat the embossing powder. I'm going to make sure that I'm moving my embossing gun, and then it'll have this raised, shiny surface to it. Hopefully you can kind of see the sparkle on there. It's kind of hard on camera to see it, but it's just subtle. It's just kind of in there. Remember when you're embossing that you want to do it on a surface that can have the heat on it. So like you can use a cutting board, or you could use a metal pan underneath your work surface, because it can be really hot and intense. Alright, so I think now what I want to do is I've changed my mind about how I want to do the snowflakes. I think I'm going to stamp the snowflakes in a different ink. So I have my Brilliance ink pad here. I just added some more ink to it so it's inked up. And I think what I want to do now is I'm going to stamp this, and then I'm going to emboss it again, and it's going to have a different look to it. I'm going to sprinkle the same embossing powder over it, and it's going to have a completely different look because I used the black ink. Okay, so now I'm going to heat this up. Alright, so now the snowflakes have been embossed. And the next thing I want to do is I'm going to trim this down to 4 by 6 pieces. So I'm just going to get my paper trimmer out. I am going to trim off some of the edges where I went past the page because I was wanting to make sure that my paper went all the way to the edge. I'm just going to cut some 4-inch strips to start with. And then I'll cut them at 6 inches. I'll save this piece for another project. I've pre-cut some 4 by 6 pieces of watercolor paper. These were just some scraps I had. And so what I'm going to do next, I'm going to attach these together with just some Aleene's glue. So it makes it a stronger card, be thicker if you will. Actually, I've decided I'm going to use my glue pot. I've got an acrylic block, so what I'm going to do is after I glue one down, so I'm just going to put the block on top, and that'll help smooth it out and make it flat. I've got some black soot distressed ink here. I'm just going to go around the edges. I'll do that to all the cards. Well, there are my 4 postcards. And if you'll stay tuned in this video, I will show you how I decorate the postcards that I get from the other ladies. And I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back, and now I have the other ladies' postcard. So you saw my postcard at the beginning of this video. This postcard is from Lena. This one is from Chelsea. This one is from Bea. Their links are in my description box below so you can see how they made theirs and how they embellished their finished postcards that we swapped with each other. So today what I've decided to do is use some digital images and some Tattered Angels products together. So let me grab just one. I'm pretty much going to do the same technique on all of these. So I've got some cheesecloth here. And what I'm going to do is put this in my spray box. Now I just use an old box that I happen to have laying around, and it so happens that it's 8.5 by 11 pieces of paper will fit inside. So it's kind of handy to work with journals. I've got some Tattered Angels Glimmer Mist in Craft. And what I'm going to do with this cheesecloth is I'm going to change the color of it by spraying it with the Tattered Angels. It takes it just a moment for it to dry. I'm going to use my heat tool and dry this, and I'll be back. Alright, so I've got it a little bit dried, and I'm going to kind of manipulate it just a little bit. And I think I'm going to lay that in here. So the next thing I've got is I've got some digital images. This is from a digital download that I happen to have in my shop called Winter's Bliss. And what I'm going to do is use some distressed ink. I'm using walnut stain and a blending tool. And I'm just going around the outside edges where this was cut out. I used my silhouette to cut this in the other images that I'll be showing to you. Now remember, if you do a digital download, that you can go in and crop the images, you can reduce them or enlarge them and duplicate them and even flip them. So I'll show you at the end what I mean by that. Okay, so I think I'm going to use this, and then I've got a little holly berry leaf, so I'm going to distress the edge of that as well. And then I have a little word phrase that says, "Believe in the wintry magic." I've got some glam. This is a clear glitter glam. So I'm going to shake it to get that mica and the glitter up into the liquid. So I'm trying to shake it up just a little bit. Sometimes I'll even take my paintbrush and dip it way down in. I'm getting a little scrap here so that I can kind of mix up those colors. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this blue jay and the little hollyberry leaf, and it's going to give it a pretty shimmery color, and the glitter won't fall off. You know, like if you try to just use some glitter and paste it on, well, a lot of times glitter sheds, and this way, because it's in the glam, it's not going to shed and get all over the person who would get this card. I'm going to set this aside to dry. It'll take a few minutes. If I use my heat tool, I have to be very careful because if you get it too close to the glam, it will bubble up. So I found if I just kind of set it aside, then it'll dry pretty quick. Right now what I'm doing is kind of brushing out some of those bubbles. I picked up some bubbles when I was putting the glam down, so I'm kind of smoothing those out just a little bit. Alright, so while that's drying, I've got some eyelash yarn, so I'm going to cut a little snippet of it. And I'm going to make a little circle here on top of that cheesecloth. And then I've got another color. I'm going to do the same thing, just cut a little snippet of it. And that's going to be laid on top of there. It kind of makes like a little nest, if you will, in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up my tacky glue and I'm going to pick up this whole wad of stuff and I'm going to put a nice generous bead in a circle and kind of spiraling it in so that the cheesecloth will stick to that, and then when I put the bird on top, it'll hold it all together. Just lay this on top of there. Then I've got one of these blue jays that I painted earlier, so I'm going to put glue on the back side of this and then stick it down. To help get it to adhere, I'm putting an acrylic block on top, and I'm going to let that sit for a couple of minutes and I'll be right back. Alright, the glue's dried, so that's pretty much in the right spot, and I'm going to take some glue and a little snippet of the eyelash yarn and kind of put a little bead of glue at the top here in the corner, and then I'll put glue on the back of the sentiment, and that will go over the top of the fibers. And then I'm going to glue down this holly leaf in the corner down here, like so. Sometimes you have to hold the piece down so it'll adhere, so I'm just going to hold it for just a moment. I forgot to add some distress ink to the edge, so I'm just going to quickly kind of go around the edge with a little bit of distress ink. Again, vintage photo, or no, walnut stained. Walnut stained. Okay, I think it needs a little bit more of something, so I'm going to put it in my spray box, and I've got some Tattered Angels Glimmer Mist in almost black. I'm going to take the wand out, and I'm just going to kind of flick it over the card just a little bit, just to get a few specks. And then I took a lid and I put a little bit of white acrylic paint and some water, and I've got a paintbrush here. And I'm just going to take this and just kind of tap it. Let me zoom out so you can kind of see. So I'm just going to tap the paintbrush with my finger and let it put a few dots here and there, and I'll dry that and I'll be right back. So there's the finished postcard, and that one was using Lena's background. And then let me show you the other postcards. So this one was using Shell C's background. I love the glitter, it's just sparkly and pretty. And then this one is Bea's background, and her background had a lot of shimmer in it, so it was kind of cool to add the shimmer on top of the blue jay as well. And then this is my card. I'll zoom out so you can see all four. Well, I hope you enjoyed seeing this mixed media collaboration that we did. That you'll go check out the other ladies' videos as well to see how they created their backgrounds, and of course see how they decorated their cards, because we're all different. And I just love the way these turned out. They'd be really good to stick in a journal or to just mail as they are. Alright everybody, thanks so much for watching, and again check that description box below to get the links to the other ladies as well as links to any of the products that I used. Of course, definitely if you haven't followed me, please do subscribe and hit that notification bell at the top. Every Monday at 3:45 p.m. Central Standard Time, I do a live video. And you definitely want to come on Monday, Christmas Eve, because we'll have some giveaways and some fun things going on. on my channel. So even though you probably are celebrating with your family, take a few minutes, stop by my live on Monday. Let's see. Comment below if you have any questions, and of course, please give this video a thumbs up. All right, everybody, have a Merry Christmas, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.